Welcome to another broadcast of the Debra Rufini Show on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are archived. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. And now, from England, here she is, your host, Debra Rufini.
Greetings from England. Debra Rufini here with another broadcast of the Debra Rufini Show. Today we should be doing things a little differently. I shall be placing myself in the hands of a very special person whom I trust and who I've chosen to interview me, where we shall be discussing the nature, motive and, sadly, damage of gay conversion therapy. My dear friend has studied religion, holds 2 degrees in both psychology and corporate law, and is a practising attorney. But she also has a deep spiritual faith and is such a blessing and encouragement to me and my spiritual journey. So, my dear friend, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks, Debs, and you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. This is going to be an interesting subject matter, isn't it? It's something that is serious and causes a lot of harm, and it's just something we're going to get our teeth into, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really can't wait to dive into this, as you said, very interesting topic. You know, my understanding about the True Freedom Trust is that it's a UK-based charity where it holds the view that sex, gender and relationships, and this is based from looking at their website, their mission statement on their website, is a temptation that must not under any circumstances be acted upon.
Yeah.
And of course the basis for this opinion is their emphasis, interpretation of what the Bible says on these issues. So, yeah, from what I can gather also, it's run by a team of 5 paid staff.
Right.
They seem to want to mention that they're paid, and they also have voluntary workers. And then I also noted that they've got a digital engineer, an IT engineer, and a promotional video. So clearly these guys mean business.
Yeah.
Getting the gay out the gay. So
yeah.
Let's, or should we say getting the gays out the way.
Yes.
Anyway, Debs, I can't wait to hear about your experience with the True Freedom Trust. So can you tell us how this all began for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're going back a long, long time. It's, way into my youth, long time ago. And I think, so I was brought up in the church and loving family. Dad was a retired minister. Was an active minister at the time. But having this sense that, you know, this thing that's quite natural to me is frowned upon and sinful, and God's going to throw a hissy fit if you act on these tendencies. But interesting enough, didn't seem to be something that was harmful to other people, and most sins seem to be harmful, things that involve hurting other people. So from what I remember, I thought, right, well, what's the alternative? I don't want to leave God. I can't lead this filthy life that it supposedly is, even if it's in the realms of a loving relationship. So let's see if there's some help. So I was kind of, by this time, strongly encouraged by the church. Oh, not forced, but let's say strongly encouraged to sort of get some sort of pray the gay away, cast out the demon. So in one of the local churches, this thing was held at the True Freedom Trust, and it was like a meeting where we were just kind of sat round supporting each other, crying because we couldn't be true to ourselves, and there didn't seem to be any sense of freedom in this because, you know, none of us were waking up straight the next day or even at all. So it was a bit surreal, and I think we all knew, what are we doing? It was a sense of this is just madness, you know. So it was,
my understanding, my understanding, having read up on this charity, is that they acknowledge that homosexuality exists.
Yeah.
but you just can't act on it.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit confused by this. Are they saying that actually all homosexuals are heterosexuals? They just don't know it.
Extreme denial.
Are they saying, yeah, that the heterosexuals are having these naughty thoughts and they need to get back to being heterosexual? Or are they saying, oh no, we get it. You know, we're not going to argue with what the scientists have said, where, you know, there have been numerous examples of different species showing same-sex attraction to the other.
Yeah.
And also in terms of, you know, recent psychological, certainly research and opinion, is that homosexuality is not a psychological condition. So going back to the original question, is the True Freedom Trust saying you are heterosexuals with, you know, either a psychological condition or a moral condition? Or are they saying you are a homosexual, we get it, but whatever you do, don't act on it?
Yeah.
In private, in public, wherever, keep it your secret. And go and hang out with other people who are also homosexual that don't act on it. And don't worry, you'll never be lonely. You will never need love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you will, well, you know, romantic love, and you will never need physical intimacy. But, you know, us heterosexuals, you know, we do need love, we do need physical intimacy, but you are denied this. So I've put quite a lot to you, so unpack it how you will.
Sure. Yeah, it's the latter. It's very much, we're definitely gay, we're definitely homosexual, we're not in denial, but let's do something else to take our minds off this. Let's pray about it. And, you know, at the end of the day, we've got this God-filled, God-shaped hole that only God can fill. And yes, human companionship it's lovely, but, you know, we're gay, and well, there's not really much we can do about it. So the only thing is to live for God, and, you know, while we watch the heterosexuals hold hands, have sexual intimacy, you know, but it's kind of, well, you know, the whole thing is, everything is sinful before marriage. So it was quite interesting, really, because it was very much, well, heterosexuals they face the same struggle, you know, that before marriage. And I'd always be saying, but a heterosexual person can get married and then it's okay, then sexual intercourse is okay. But they'd never seem to get that. So it was very much, you know, straight people have the same struggles, but us gay people, we just have to live by God. But friendship's okay, isn't it? We can have friendships, and hey, you know, we've got this support of our fellow gay friends, like you've just said in a different way. It's the friendship that matters, and we can all support each other. We can sit round and have dinner, and then feel better about ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, leading on from that, and it's quite interesting, and it's, you know, one of the questions that I do want to ask you, and it leads on from what you said. It is very clearly an obsession with same-sex attracted people. And I would say it's almost a suicidal obsession, because, and I mean suicidal emotionally, psychologically, and sadly even physically. I'm sure it's not unheard of for same-sex attraction people to just eventually, it gets too much for them and they end up leaving this world.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting is, according to the national statistics, only 2% of the UK population is gay, is homosexual. Okay?
It's interesting.
So that means they're focusing on 2% of the population to set up charities like this one and, you know, preach this almost anti-gay lifestyle openly in churches across the United Kingdom. But they seem to not have the same obsession with, as you said, divorce. What about multiple successive marriages, pornography? And I mean, there are countless other questions of sexual morality that, you know, heterosexuals grapple with. But they almost have nothing really to say about 90% of what the UK population are getting up to in terms of sexual matters. So I guess the question is, why do you think homosexuality is the king's sin, and indeed, the Queen's sin, the poor Queen's sin? And I don't obviously mean the Queen of England. I mean the slang used for our homosexual brothers.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. That's an interesting question. It's something I've often pondered on and asked Christians, and they can't really do much more than blow you a raspberry. I mean, that's the answer. Blow you a raspberry in the event that you don't want to answer it. And
give you a kiss on the cheek and a pat on the back, don't you dare take that the wrong way.
Yeah. I think it's the whole. Well, the answer is that they can't answer. So I think they were just, the psychology of it is probably, well, anything we don't understand and can't relate to, it's got to be worse than our thing that we do, that we can understand. In fact, I'll give you a little insight as to what happened. I don't want to dwell too much on this because there's so much to cover here, but I got to about 20 and I was in the church, and I was sorry, I interrupted you there, but I just wanted to ask, just so I can, know, I guess, in terms of what's to follow, but were you openly gay in the church at 20? I came out when I was about 17 to a couple that I trusted in the church.
Okay.
Before my own parents, I came out to this couple that I was quite close to, and in the name of love, they had bought me loads of books and highlighted all the bits about me going to hell, and used to have me round there of an evening to feed me up, give me a nice meal, and then give her a battering.
They were very supportive.
I got some nice meals out of it. So I'd finish work and I'd go up to this. I'd be very careful not to say names. You automatically in a conversation use names, don't you? I mustn't do that. So they were quite a well-respected couple in the church, and and I thought this was love. I truly believed it was love, and I think they probably did as well. But I then got to about 20, and there was this guy in the church who was, all the young girls adored him. He was a lifeguard, he was very handsome, he knew it, he was very full of himself. And he asked me out. And
wow.
I know. And I thought, oh crumbs, it's not ideally what I would as a man, but well, maybe I can try.
So basically, David Hasselhoff asked you out instead of Pamela Anderson, and you would have prepared Pamela Anderson. Is that what you said?
Well, actually, given the choice, I would have preferred. No, I'm joking. But yes, no, I get your drift there.
I'm joking. Anyway, so yes, the lifeguard asked you out.
And I was flattered, but obviously hardly in love, But I thought, maybe this is God's doing, maybe this is God's way of saying, we'll get her there. And so I remember trying to look at him in different angles and try and even visualise him in a different shirt to see if that would work. And nothing worked. And he, this is quite significant, so that's the only reason I'm putting this in there, but I don't want to dwell too much, as I say. He finished with me because someone else got him, and there was this woman who was trying to make a play for him all along, and in a sense I was relieved. I was angry that there was never anything sexually involved, we were just dating, but I was angry that this deceitful thing was done, but I wasn't angry or upset rather at losing this person, because after all it was a guy. But something I can't mention on air, they went on to do something, him and this girl went on to do something so this was 30 years ago, bearing in mind, and it's something that would be affecting deeply a life to this day. So this was hushed up in the church, and the infidelity was hushed up. But I was the one, so I then came out because I thought, I've tried fancying, as a little girl, I've tried fancying little boys. As a young adult, in my teenage years, my friends, they had Duran Duran on the wall and Paul Young and different, and I was still stuck on, Donna Summer. Donna Summer was never a crush, but yeah, that sort of, it would have been, she was more a hero, but I can't think who my crush would have been at the time. I don't know, but Ricky Lake or someone probably. And so I knew I could never identify with, I'm going off on a tangent here, let me bring it back home. So anyway, I was interested how, when I thought, right, I've tried everything for God, enough is enough, I've done this thing, I can't even, it's like trying to mix oil and water for me to try and have sexual, emotional attraction for a man. I just can't do it. I've got to be true to myself. So I came out to parents, I came out to more and more people in the church. And it was really interesting how, going back to your point about these other things that are largely ignored, you had divorcees in the church outside of the conditions Christ condoned, you had gossipers, you had people that were really bitchy, but why was my thing highlighted? And I wasn't even in a relationship. It was interesting. It was ever so strange. Going back to the king, I don't know why this thing is king sin, and I think anything within the church, a sexual sin is kind of, it's bigger than other things, isn't it? Do you think it's different?
Yeah, I mean, I think this debate has been going on for such a long time. There does seem to be a universal problem with homosexuality, certainly in some countries. It's actually against the law, it's statutorily endorsed, and there are a lot of associated atrocities that are condoned in a religious context, and it is very sad. But yeah. So what I would like to know is, you actually attended this program, so I'm assuming that you, went to the church, you told a couple of friends at the church, you told your family. How did the True Freedom Trust come into the picture?
So at this time I was prayed for a lot in the church, the Baptist church I was attending, and then I think someone had mentioned there was this program starting in a Pentecostal church, and why don't you go along, see what can happen, and see what comes of it. You may make some friends. I've got enough friends, I don't want to make friends, but anyway, I went along out of interest, and really because I felt I owed it to God, I owed it to the people, I owed it to those who were showing me love, that I believed was love at the time. And I'm sure they believed was love at the time. And so if I remember rightly, it was like a weekly meeting, very small group, held in a room in the back of the church. And it was just it wasn't like an alpha scenario, what I remember. It wasn't like a meal to lure you in. It was just tea and biscuits, and it wasn't really worth going because you only got tea and biscuits. At least alpha, you get a meal. But I'm afraid...
They make you pay for the tea and biscuits.
No, why do you think I went? At least I got a free digestive. So it was just an evening of misery, and then just coming back home and thinking, well, we've just shared our burdens and our struggles, and what sort of God is going to be grinning at us in this room, sacrificing ourselves because he said, well, this is my rule. It's not a rule set for a reason. It's just because I don't like it.
Yeah, that's interesting. You say that because it's obviously one of the core teachings of the Christian religion, and certainly something that was very important to Christ, and that is love. And I'm trying to get my head around again where True Freedom Trust. Does that have True Freedom Trust?
Yeah.
I always say Truth Freedom Trust, but it's True Freedom Trust. Again, are they saying that homosexual relationships are incapable of love? And there's this assumption that it's just some perverted physical activity between two people, and that they, that they are incapable of actually loving that person and having a loving, ongoing, supportive relationship. Is that sort of taken out of the equation, that element of love? So basically, where I'm going with this is that Christ is teaching about love. Christianity says it's all about love.
Yeah.
And then you have two people that love each other. They're same-sex attracted, they love each other, and that's the most important thing in the Christian religion is love. And then by saying, well, no, you can't be together, so you're actually taking away that love. And somehow, how does that reconcile with the teachings of, the church or Christianity, more importantly, Jesus Christ?
That's really interesting. That's a good point. That's something I've never actually thought of. The answer would be So it wouldn't be viewed necessarily as this is just these are bad thoughts, dirty thoughts, lustful thoughts. We can be capable of loving someone of our own gender the same as someone loving someone of the opposite gender. But sadly, with us, it's wrong. And God doesn't like it, and they will misinterpret Romans, where Paul speaks about the result of pagan god worship. They exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones, where he's not even talking about relationships there. So they take everything out of context, and so in answer to your question, it's kind of, we can love as deeply as a heterosexual person loves. But we know it's wrong, and hey-ho, we've just got to live with it, because, we find that ultimate, that perfect love with God, and that's all we should be concentrating on. So, and what is this life? This life is only temporary anyway, so surely we can deny ourselves and probably about getting rewards, because, the Bible speaks about rewards if you live in a... So I think it's more a matter of, we're just doing the right thing by abstaining, and that was it. Okay. So you said at the groups, and it was just people talking about the experiences, and a case of every time you went out into the world and you had a temptation, you were thinking, what would my friends from Truth, Freedom, Trust do? So you were sitting in a circle and you're just talking about, was there any kind of set program? I see that there are volunteer workers, and they've got a paid team of 5 sitting there. Wow.
Is there, as I said, is there some sort of program, steps that you have to follow?
No, it was
just open chatting.
It was a very informal. So it was. So there were at the time, and it may have changed now, but at the time there were kind of regional groups. So the one that was held local to me, it was a group of probably. I think I was one of 3 women. Most of the other guys, they were men. So it would just be sat round in a circle. It was almost like what I imagine Narcotics Anonymous to be like, or kind of sat round and all sharing our shameful stories, our temptations, our I fell this week because I don't know, some chap may have seen Tom Cruise in a film and he had lustful thoughts, or or about how family have dealt with them. I've been thrown out from my home. Thankfully, I never had anything like this. Someone may have been thrown out from their home, and I just want to talk through what my parents said about this. And so it was really a support group, but also with quite a large element of prayer of, let's see what we can do about being delivered. And it hit me very strongly that deliverance is very different from stifling feelings. And it seemed to very much be that, stifling your feelings about anything that you feel or anything that you believe is not actual deliverance. It's a very different thing, and that's just going to make it worse. If you stifle something, it just makes it bigger. So it was a bit. A lot of the time, I just kept quiet because I thought, well, I don't want to kind of rock the boat and say, what the hell are we all doing? It was very bizarre. It was very surreal, and I knew in my heart of hearts that this would not do anything for me. But it wasn't rebellion, it was just being sincere. And I'm sure God would much prefer sincerity than insincerity and putting on an act. So it was, yeah.
And how long were you in the program for?
Crikey, I'm trying to probably a couple of years, I would imagine. Just hard to say.
Couple of years.
I think
Wow.
so. Yeah, sort of on and off. So I would attend. I'm trying to think of dates now. So when I would have sort of gone, so I probably would have gone. I may have been 21, 22. Yeah, because then I sort of went on the scene and explored. I don't mean explore my sexuality as in sleeping around, but I explored being with gay people who were free to be themselves. I kind of went, leapt into the fire a bit with that, because that wasn't any better because of the misery I think that the gay scene can also cause, but that's a different thing. But I think I was kind of on and off. While I was in the church, I was sort of on and off attending out of duty. I think it was a sense of duty as well for me. I certainly didn't go because I thought anything was going to happen. At that time it would have been easier if it had, but if you can't relate to something, you can't imagine how you would feel to be something that you're not. So I can't speak for anyone else in that group, but I would be very, very surprised if I'm no longer in contact with anyone there. I couldn't even remember names, but I'd be very surprised if. I don't want to sound sceptical, but I would be surprised if anyone had been delivered, and if anyone has claimed to be delivered, I would strongly wonder if they were bisexual in the first place, where you could possibly adapt to liking your opposite gender. So it was an interesting one.
It's noted that one of the founders of this charity, I always say charity, tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it is a charity in a stricter sense, but anyway, he was actually a homosexual.
Right.
And he obviously decided that this wasn't the way forward, and we need to support homosexuals in essence to live a celibate life, really. And when I was watching the promotional video, which I have to say I was quite impressed with the production value of it. Clearly there's cash coming in from somewhere.
Right.
Notice that there's a link to donate to the True Freedom Trust.
Okay.
And I was, I don't know if obviously those were actors or not. I did notice that the one gentleman had a wedding ring on, so I'm not sure if he was an actor or was married to, I don't know, but I did notice that. And what struck me about that video is, I don't know, the people seemed they all seemed quite glum.
Yeah.
And that's the promotional video, and they all sort of sat down, and I think it was a curry, which I don't think looked that appetizing, to be honest. Anyway. And that was, that's how they were happiest, sitting around, a table, glumly eating a rather pale-looking curry. And I just thought, how on earth is this going to inspire anyone, to partake in this program. But I guess where I'm going with this is, even from the video, it doesn't look like, I mean, they were saying, we're really thrilled and I'm really happy with this decision, and I don't know, it doesn't look like they were, if I'm honest.
A lot of them were married. Sorry, a lot of them. Some of them, from what I remember, they were married because it was kind of God.
Are finally at peace.
Yeah, it was sometimes. But God has called me to be married, so I can't fight God's call. And companionship is important, so it's better to be married than to live the alternative. I don't like the word lifestyle, gay lifestyle, because there's no life. The farmer has a lifestyle, a gay person doesn't have a lifestyle. But yeah, so some of them had sort of struggled and been married and raised a family. It was some. But yeah, I've seen the same clip, and they don't look particularly like they're massively enjoying the curry, no matter how. They could be doing better things, really.
Do we actually have to eat those? Can you, Could you not get the production manager, or maybe, I don't know, where's the digital engineer? Maybe he's a better cook, who knows?
Yeah. But you can just see though, can't you, that there's a sense of. I just looked at the women in that. I think it was 2 women and 2 men, and watching them all, thinking, oh, how much they would really love to have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and just have the excitement of a date, and to have, the feeling of having a date and having that love for someone. And to be free in that, rather than just fill your stomach with a nice curry if it's nice, but it's doubtful.
I mean, I personally look at all of this quite objectively. To a point, I accept that everyone's entitled to their own opinion on anything. I have my opinions on certain things that people won't necessarily agree with, but it's my opinion, and that's mine to have. So I do get, and I do accept, and I don't, as much as we're coming across as being quite cynical about the True Freedom Trust, objectively speaking, I get what they're doing. I think that perhaps they honestly believe they're doing what is right. And I think that there are people who really, really battle with their sexuality, and it conflicts with them on spiritual levels, on moral levels, on whatever levels. And that's their decision to make. I don't think it's good to just give a broad opinion and say, well, these people are being cruel and idiotic, and and the people that attend to them to get a grip and just accept who they are.
That's nice.
So I do get that from an objective point of view. But at the same time, and in the same breath, I think that we as humans need to take some responsibility for our actions and how it impacts others. And if you are going to get involved with a organization like this, I think that surely you would seek some sort of professional advice and say, look, we are encouraging people to be celibate. It's not something that they want. They're grappling with an emotional issue, which a lot of people grapple with, they battle with. They go and see psychologists for anxiety. It's not uncommon for people to feel uncomfortable with their weight. Some people battle with their weight. So it's not uncommon to feel uncomfortable within yourself. And these people are not trained. It's volunteer-based.
That's true.
And it doesn't seem to me that they've actually sought professional advice to say, is it okay that we are telling people, humans, who naturally want to, as you say, have a partnership, be in a partnership with another human being, have intimacy, not be lonely. Is it okay that we are advising these people to deny themselves that? And are there going to be any psychological implications. And from what I read, sexually repressing someone is very harmful to their emotions and their psychological well-being. And that's where I have the problem. And obviously if you go to the extreme of people going around, bashing, so whether you Bible bashing the gay out of you, or you physically bashing the gay, when I say you, the gay out of a gay, that is a problem, because you are impairing the quality of life of another person that you are not entitled to do, whether on whatever grounds you do it. So I don't know if you have anything to say in response to that statement. And I guess where I'm going with this also is, do you have any resentment?
No. So, first, I think, I think they're not taking into account any if there is any psychological damage caused, it's just a need for further prayer, really, that it's just it's just not, it is like trying to talk to, speaking English to a Dutchman. It's very hard to it's very much a matter of, we understand we're all in the same boat, but come on, we can fight this thing together, and anything but act upon your impulses. That's kind of the bottom line, anything but that. I don't think it's considered. I think it's founded by, I've got to be careful here, I think it was founded by same-sex attracted people, but it was maybe it was actually support for them, come aboard, that the more support we can get, and let's bring about this charity. So I think that's the whole kind of feel about it, that it's just any psychological and if anyone took their lives, well, it's very sad, but at least they were living with what God wanted them to do. They didn't fall by the wayside. But for myself, no, I don't feel any resentment. It seems like the life happened to someone else. I've been a different person for many years, so it's kind of, looking back at that time, it's we're talking a good 30 odd years ago. Is that right? Yeah, roughly. So, and it wasn't, I think I would probably feel resentment and anger if it was kind of like one of these gay conversion therapy like camps, where they kind of shout at you and then they show you, or certainly for the men, they'll show a pornographic image to see if the man will get an erection.
And then kettle prod and zap you.
Electric shock you. Well, one of the cures, in inverted commas, for homosexuality apparently used to be, they'd put I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny, but they'd put a bird cage on someone's head with the bird in it to batter the demon out of the head. The bird would peck the
woodpecker.
It would peck. If I had something like that happen to me, I might be a bit angry. No, I look back and I think I feel very sad.
Because you've got a dent on your forehead and it's there for life.
Oh, don't. Yeah. So no, I feel very sad for people that are possibly still doing it, people that have not sort of woken up and become true to themselves. And I do believe it was done, I look back at the people in the church, and as tough as it was, I think it was probably done in the name of love, and they thought it was love. Similarly to, if you don't recognise the true name of the true God, then he's going to give you battering for all eternity, but they believe it's love. So it's kind of, if you start thinking of it along those lines, you can't be angry with them, because they truly believed they were doing their best, even though it was pants. It wasn't the best at all.
And they were only focusing on 2% of the population, other than 98% 98% of the heterosexuals were getting up to. But
yeah, that would make me angry, if anything. Sorry.
I think, and if you look at other support groups, like I think you mentioned earlier, AA, NA,
right.
The key thing with those groups is they don't advertise. They'll put up a sign and they'll say this is where an AA meeting's at, but they don't have a promotional video of people running around and then going for a curry.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if this was a group, an anonymous group or something similar,
yeah,
which people could seek and attend, then I could kind of understand it on one level. As I mentioned earlier, some people really don't like being same-sex attracted, and they really sincerely wish that they were heterosexual. And I think a group like that would I don't know, maybe assist them in some way. But what does trouble me is that there's a kind of promotion or recruitment to partake in this group. So you mentioned that you got into this group in your early 20s, and it was a long time ago, and you think things have changed. But that period of your life, you're actually very vulnerable. You've just finished school.
Yeah.
You've gone out into the big wide world, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I've got to navigate my way from this point, and I have no idea. So it's actually, as I said, a very vulnerable point in your life, and it's the perfect time to kind of strike and recruit. I understand that you approach this charity yourself, but and you don't know how things have changed now, but it appears to me that they're actually now advertising it and promoting it, certainly on social media like YouTube, albeit that only 3,700 people have viewed it. We're not sure if that was just 5 people who are paid workers that have just sat there going, view. But I mean, I'm joking there. I think people have viewed it, and that is, I don't know. I suppose my question, I know you sound like you don't have any resentment. You went along, it felt right at the time.
Yeah.
It was fine. But, and you don't really know what's happening now with the charity.
No. No.
But were you surprised when you saw there was a promotional video and they're actually now trying to encourage people to attend it?
Yeah, I was interested to see that, and you mentioned the number of views, and I couldn't help but wonder. Yeah, I noticed as well. There was quite a few views. I don't know how quickly those. I don't know how old the video was. It could have been, if it's 10 years old, then maybe it's not so many views. But but what I wondered was, I wonder how many clicks that has had with gay Christians thinking this is kind of like a MCC, Metropolitan Community Church, kind of Christian organisation where it's gay friendly and okay to be who you are. So I wondered if people were sort of viewing it with the hope it would be, with the alternative view. But it didn't look a very appealing video. So I don't think I think anyone that would be considering going would think, oh no, maybe not. Let's hope. Let's pray for that anyway. So. Yeah. Would you go? Would you go if you were thinking, oh well, let's go to the support group? Oh, so four people sat at a table.
I'm quite interested I mean, they mention training and they mention conferences and all of that, and I think it would be interesting to actually follow up on how this True Freedom Trust is operating today, and what they're getting up to. Because it doesn't sound like it's just a case of a group of people getting together chatting. It seems to be that they've actually prepared programs, and I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's just vague on their website. But
They do. They have conference days. In fact, they still. I have asked numerous times that they would delete me from their mailing list, but they don't seem to want to. I still I think it's every 2 months, get a load of gubbins in my letterbox. And as soon as I see that envelope,
that's an infringement of your data protection rights, so you can report that.
Oh really? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you can ask them to take you off the list, and if you don't, you can report them to the ICO.
Excellent. That's maybe what I might do. But so I usually open it just to see is there a free gift inside. If not, I put it in recycling. Is there a badge and a balloon? No. So.
Or if I recruit someone to join the group, can I get a toaster?
Yeah. Yes, that's true. So it's been a long time since I've actually flicked through, but if I would, it would just be out of interest and to have a bit of a giggle. But they were holding they'd be like a bookmark, to sort of, to encourage you to go. There would be conference days, usually held in London, and it would be kind of, or seminars, conference days, those sort of things. So you'd have a talk about what did Paul really say, and then it would be about something to do with the struggles. Then there'd be a break for tea and biscuits, and then there'd be lunch, and then there'd be they're obsessed with biscuits. They do like tea and biscuits. And then there'd be like another like a group session discussion, a little discussion session, and then it would be closing time to go home. But even if it was on my doorstep, I don't even think I'd go out of interest now just to be from the outside looking in. But I do think it's very sad. It's sad beyond words. And as you've mentioned before, the you do have. There was that horrible case with Justin Fashanu, the footballer who was gay, and he took his life, and that was because he was a Christian. And there was.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh. So, Debs, where are you now in terms of,
Where am I now? I'm certainly far, far free from this, thank God, and have been for a long time. I'm in a happy place, content with myself, and in a very happy relationship. And I couldn't ask for a more wonderful partner, and a loving situation, which is good. And the freedom to love, the freedom to... I don't think there was part of me ever felt guilty, but it was the freedom to... Yeah, so now it is to be me and to not have to think twice about am I going to get a battering at the end of the day by God because I'm not going his way. And that was the biggest thing that kept me. Wasn't so much guilt. Interestingly enough, guilt wasn't a big part of it. It was more fear of what is God going to do to me. Need to keep everyone around me happy at the expense of my misery. But it's nice to not have any of that and be happy in who I am with God, who I am in my relationship, and which is, I think that's ultimately, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, I think that's what many people want. They want the happiness, companionship. And I remember, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, my lovely sister who I love dearly, she there was a time when she once said, it's all very well and good having this God-shaped hole that only God can fill, but God can't take you to the pictures. God can't make, sit and hold your hand. God can't give you a physical cuddle. You can't, it's the things that we long for in human companionship. And we can have friends, but it's not the same as having that intimacy. It's not the same at all. So where I am today, I'm tickety boo. I'm a happy bunny, I've kind of had freedom from True Freedom freedom from True Freedom Trust.
I'm sure they'd be delighted to know that.
Maybe I'll write and tell my testimony. I might, because they love testimonies, so I might
I'm sure they do.
give them my testimony.
Yeah.
But it's...
I think, I don't know how much time we've got left. This hour has certainly flown.
It has, hasn't it? It's been great, and it's... I thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to talk about my own experience, and you were the right woman for the job, and
thank you.
And for your...
Yeah. Debs, I know we've had a good giggle and we've had so good conversation about this, but I guess on a serious level, I do believe that to condemn sexual behaviours of same-sex attracted people does erase their self-understanding entirely. And that, ministries like True Freedom Trust are in essence objecting to who same-sex attracted people are. And I would say that, and this is just my personal opinion, but if anybody is listening to the show and is considering or is wondering if they should go to a group like this, I personally believe that it takes the exact same amount of energy to be fearless and proud as it does to be scared and ashamed.
Wow.
And I guess that's my closing thought on what you've shared.
Wow.
On the matter.
Oh, that's amazing. No, you're absolutely right. That's so spot on. And that's good. That's a blessing. That is a real blessing. And thank you so much, dear one, for coming on and giving your insight and wisdom on the matter, and of course compassion. And it's been, you're very good at exploring matters. The one thing I love about this dear woman is that she's very good at insight and observation and exploring with kindness and love. And thank you so much for being a guest on my show. It's been a great privilege. And thank you to the audience for tuning in. And until next time, much love and God bless.